Okay, we're officially recording now. Are you
Oh,
ready?
great. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I didn't push the record button. All right. My name is Shaun Anderson. I'm here with Thomas Seidl, and he's a Tai Chi and Qigong practitioner, 35 plus years in different martial arts. Am I right so far, sir? Second degree
That's
black belt, and the style of karate, again, if you don't mind saying it.
is Enshin.
Enshin. Okay, I should be able to remember that. Enshin. And welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you so
Uh,
much. Great to be here.
we were talking about how you came back into training in your 50s after an injury reminded you of what your body needs at this stage. And that's a conversation I think a lot of men in the community will recognize. Um, so the floor is yours, my friend. I met you on school. I was attracted to the Qigong channel, and I went there and we started a conversation, and immediately we got into the I still have a hard time with that word, physiological, or is that right? Or almost
Piezoelectric. Piezoelectric.
piezoelectric. Piezoelectric. I've got so many things going on. Piezoelectric. That caught my attention because right around that time, I was studying about some random thing popped up about the birds flying and how they can find their way back to their branches after flying all over the place, right? And then there's like a gas in their eye or an element that has a chemical exchange when the light hits it. It's not it's a chlorochrome or something like that. Anyways, it creates a superimposed, almost probably a thermal is how I would probably describe it. I mean, I'm not a bird, obviously. I might have a bird brain. They have some type of way that they can see, right? And they can see north and south and east and west. And then they have these magnetic particles on a molecular level in their beak, and it kind of pulls them. And it's backed by science. And I had no idea that it was even a thing. And it just was totally fascinating. And then about that time, I saw your article on the piezoelectric. What happens on a cellular when you're, I mean, doing things, right? I mean, why don't you tell me what you were saying on that?
Yeah. So and the birds are amazing. Like the bird thing you turned me on to in that conversation, I just blew my mind. Partially because I'm sort of on a sidetrack, also looking into quantum entanglement. It's actually a quantum entangled, electron pair that allows them to see that. It's really, really interesting. And anybody who's interested in that, in going deep into that kind of like, particle physics is, it's amazing that birds are actually making use of these things that just seem like theoretical physics. But also we are in this piezoelectric effect has to do with the way that everything grows, everything, right? So the way we grow from childhood is basically by pushing against gravity. And the way that makes that exchange is that at least in part, in our bones, we have the substance collagen. Collagen is a piezoelectric chemical. Basically, it's a crystal that is asymmetrical. So when you rub it together, it produces a spark. There's lots of crystals that do that, like those like little piezoelectric lighters. Any lighter that you've ever tried that just goes click, and that's pressing two crystals together to create a spark. That happens inside your bones, and it creates these minute. We used to think that it was slight fractures in bone that then got filled in. The reason that they get filled in is because of that electric force pulls in material. So the reason that we're growing is because gravity is pushing us down and we're pushing back, basically. It's just one of the ways that we use our bioelectricity to navigate the world.
I love that.
It's really a very cool thing, and it's really only being understood more recently. They're starting to use biopiezoelectric stuff for all kinds of things. Pacemakers are starting to be powered, at least in part, by piezoelectric energy from inside the body. Just your nervous system, just the fact of your electrolytes in your body, creates a a certain voltage in your body, right? And when you're doing work, when you're doing a workout, you might produce as much as 600 volts in pure energy.
Wow.
It's there is an electric component to the human pressure and work, and
Totally.
it's partially because gravity is always pushing on us, and we're always pushing back. We don't realize it, we don't see it, we don't notice it, but gravity is always this constant that's pushing, that's wielding this force, and we're always kind of wielding it back. And that's one of the things I've been really working with a lot in my internal martial arts lately, especially.
Dude, just that knowledge impregnating your mind and keeping that perspective shows you that you are carrying potential energy. It changes your whole attitude, right?
Yeah.
And then because we wake up, forgot everything we learned yesterday, probably.
Yeah.
You got to relearn a bunch of stuff, right? That's the problem with humans, or with me, anyways. I'll have some amazing breakthroughs and figure out some amazing things, and then completely forget. And then 5 months later, remember something. I'm getting better now that I've got AIs and all these ways. I'm keeping track of my knowledge and information. Yeah, I've got little post-its on my mirror now that tell me. It's like, I'm doing that type of stuff. Affirmations, right? Context reminders, perspective reminders. So I wake up and it's a shortcut to the right mindset. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that's just one trick. And then not even counting mindset, perspective, and just the type of attitude to have. I'll jump into this other thought here. Everything that's going on that we can't see in front of us, the cellular signals that bring the information to our phone that give us a 4 HD, whatever, beautiful moving picture sound. We don't see it flying all over the place. All the different levels of cellular grades, from the lower level to the higher level, the radio waves, all the invisible energy, know, and how that affects us and how it affects our biology on a cellular level, physical level, but on an energetic level. Oh my God. You know what I mean? And the heart is beating because it's alive. And so that life, that spark is what keeps the heart beating until it stops.
Yeah.
And if you're lucky and you just live a long life and nothing failed and whatever, and then one day it just stops. And that is fascinating. Just thinking about where that energy came from and how it stayed there and what perpetuates it. And now we're saying, well, throughout the whole body, it's energy pushing back against gravity, and the energy of gravity creating a home for us to push back, and like the whole universe and how it is physical and non-physical and energy and biology. Dude, this is like, I love this stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's one of the reasons I think that we vibe so much, is that we're on that wavelength of just being kind of amazed by what's available, by what's right in front of us, and can kind of use these methods to try and investigate that, like you're saying, using breath, recognizing your heartbeat, feeling your heartbeat, those sorts of things that kind of pass underneath the radar a lot when we're just living our lives. When you go and pay attention to them, you unlock a lot of potential, a lot of the secrets of life,
Agreed. Now, that particle experiment, right? Where when they observed particles, they did a certain behavior, and when they didn't observe them, there's a big metaphysical experiment in the 70s, something like that. And that's when they decided, like, attention and observation changes reality, right? This is huge in quantum mechanics and esoteric, bridging the esoteric knowledge to our modern quantum physics. So that alone makes me think that if I give something my attention, it comes more alive. It becomes more relevant. So, for example, how do I implement this at home? I look at my wife more, and I just look at her, and I love her. My cats, I look at them. They come more alive when I give them my attention. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I mean, you go off the deep end and be like, oh, nothing exists until like I manifest it or make it. Or you could use it as an exercise and just in your Tai Chi practice. Like for me, when I'm doing the Korean style Tai Chi that I do, the Ki Cho Jaki, sometimes I'm not focused on energy or anything. I'm just breathing and checking my connection with the ground. Sometimes I'm focusing on the energy. But I think when you are able to understand and be aware and pay attention and focus on those things, it magnifies it, amplifies it, maybe makes it come alive, or at the very minimum, helps you understand and focus on those things. But I think it actually has an effect because your
I agree.
intention, right? Your intention in like, even on a subliminal level or a subconscious level, kind of like when you say things bad about yourself, you know, you try not to do that because it goes into the subconscious and you're like, your self-fulfilling prophecy, you know, what's that called? When you self-sabotage yourself with your words and your thoughts.
Right.
I'm sure you believe this. It starts in the mind and then it comes out of the mouth and then you do it with your hands. And that's how we create our reality, right? And the power of thought, the power of an idea. When it's inside your head, no one knows anything about it. It's just inside your head. But as soon as you write it down or say it, now it's in this realm and you can do something with it. I'll segue into another thing. That's what got me so crazy on these AI and with all this, all the technology that we have now. A year ago, last May, I quit teaching kickboxing, fitness kickboxing. And instead of getting another gig, I decided to invest that time into myself. And so one of the things I started doing was capturing my thoughts. And it started with just the notes on with the voice talk to text on my phone. And I would just say an idea so I didn't forget it. And then later on, I have thousands of notes now, thousands of ideas. Some are good, some are bad. But then when the AI came out, I was able to go back to those notes, take those ideas that are now not forgotten, throw it into the AI, and then do some development. And some of those things turn into my business right now. And that's just because of the thought and then taking it and doing something with it. So with that chain of events alone on perspective and thought and intention in your training, I think it can amplify the physiological benefits, the spiritual benefits, the physical benefits. That's what I think. But is there something you can tell me, like maybe the top 3 things that you've learned recently that maybe either made that come alive and made that true, or something that you discovered along the ways, or how does that impact
one thing that brings up that you well, for one thing, the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, which you were referencing, which is that an atom or an electron and it's not possible to know both its position and its velocity at the same time, because when we look at it, we've changed it. So sometimes it's a wave, sometimes it's a particle, right? It's a particle more or less when we look at it. It's a wave in its general state, or it exhibits wave-like properties, right? So that's something that I've been really looking at quite closely, just because it's interesting, you know.
Right.
I'm not a particle physicist, but
you sound like one. You articulated that really well. That was really good.
but the wave property of things is something that I've really been kind of trying to delve into. Another thing that we talked about recently is Yongchuan, right? The bubbling well point in the bottom of the foot. So the wave property of the experience of the bubbling well is something that I've really been playing with a lot lately, and that's one of the ways that I'm engaging with gravity. One thing that I've recently come across is that the idea that if you think of a tree, the roots are being pulled down by gravity, right? So they're both searching for nutrients and finding, but they're also being pulled into the ground by the force of gravity. That pulling into the ground and that finding of nutrients pushes them up. So the force of gravity can push you up. And in working with Qigong, there's the type of Qigong that's lightness Qigong that allows you to sort of be uplifted. So there's a very dense, heavy type that pulls you down, right? Where you're pulled into the ground. You're very rooted, you know. That's an important piece, but it doesn't have that same motion and flexibility that light Qigong does. And that can happen, interestingly enough, by relaxing into gravity pushing you up. It's a very, very strange piece that I've been trying to sort of understand. Something honestly that my teacher has also been trying to drill into me for a long time, but that he's really made a point of lately, is that by relaxing, a lot of people think of relaxing in Tai Chi or in internal martial arts as either being loosey-goosey, like I'm soft, and there's something important about soft movement. But relaxing, his point is relaxing is more like a wire that's stretched. Okay, it's not easy. You have to relax in a way that's very meaningful. You have to feel the gravitational force. But once you can start to do that, it can bring you back up, and you can relax upward. And when you do that, you can start to use that to create the external force, the jing, right? The pong.
So how does that relate to extension and relaxation?
You're relaxing outward. You're relaxing upward. You're relaxing outward.
So they can both simultaneously be happening. Extension
Absolutely.
with relaxation.
That would be yin and yang.
Yeah.
So you don't yin and then yang. You yin yang, right? So you are relaxing you are extending by relaxation.
And is that the same as what you called it, the dark gravity and light gravity? Maybe I didn't say that correctly.
Or yeah, more like heavy chi and light chi.
So is that yin yang?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's yes.
Correct.
For now, like there's a lot that goes into it, but yeah, that's a pretty good.
Well, like heaven and earth, like in Aikido, they have the heaven and earth throw because you're rooted and you're also extended to heaven. Yep. And then something else just slipped my mind. Anyways, yeah.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go for it. I've been talking.
I just forgot it again. It's the same thing, heaven and earth, simultaneously, yin yang at the same time, coexisting, being rooted and I mean both of those things happening simultaneously, I guess was what I'm trying to say.
And that that root down into the ground that comes up through the bubbling well. That's where I get the bubbles of the bubbling well. Do you know what I mean? That's where I'm putting my intention in that idea of a spring. Because really, if you think about it, a spring is being pushed up by gravity, right? That's the only force really that there is. There's the electromagnetic force and there's gravity. That's what we kind of have. And gravity is what started this whole thing. It's what made that gas coalesce into a big ball of rock and then, pull other things into it. And then that's from the gravity of the sun, pulling us into it or pulling us toward it and us falling around the sun. All of that stuff started these things, even down to the heartbeat, right? Why did the first little single cell start, doing whatever pulsation it did that eventually evolved and became the heartbeat, because gravity it was working against this pressure that we've all lived under. And so when I think of the bubbling well coming up and coming through my feet and into my body and filling me up, that's where Tai Chi gets that idea of hydraulic force or water. The crashing water is that kind of like filling up the reservoir and being able to manifest it. Really, it's about, like you were saying, it's about creating that conduit, whether you call it electricity, whether you call it charge, positive and negative, light and dark, heavy and light, yin and yang, whatever you want to call it. Those opposites create this kind of like thing that you can then begin. Once you get your stance, once you get your awareness of that, you can start to play with it.
As above, so below. That's what I was thinking.
That's right.
Heaven, earth, the three roots, and coming up above, right? Like
Oh yeah.
mirror in physics, this hermetic principles, right?
Yeah.
Even in the Lord's Prayer, you know, on in heaven as on earth, and I think that's mirrored in everything because it's natural. And yeah. So, and I think, you know, we're having this conversation. We're able to communicate with the same words, and so we're able to take snippets of the same idea but with a different context, different word, and bring it in. You know, it's like we're all trying to say the same thing, but our cultures and our religions and our background and our education and our ability to verbalize are all different. So what one person might call energy, another person might call something else, you know, and then one group will say, oh, that's not it because that's mythology, and the other groups, no, this is science. But it's like, no, it's all the information's here. It's all it's all what we're living through. We just got to figure out how to talk about it, I guess, you know, and
I'm much
practice.
more on the side of the people who are like, oh, hey, look, those two things make sense together. You know, I think that this my idea is the right idea, is the cause of so many of the world.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, is bridge everybody. You know, it's like your God is the same as that God. That guy's God. Like, it's energy. We're alive. We're all alive. You know what I mean? Life, the universe, like consciousness.
We're much more common.
And I think what happens, especially in martial arts, like for a while I was hesitant to even put anything out because it's like so many people come out and they're just like, negative. And it's like, I don't want to deal with that energy. And like, I don't want to have to get pulled into like a conflict type thing. So I keep my most prized possession to myself, right? Because you don't want to get hurt, throw your pearls before swine or whatever. But it's not the right way either. Like, we need to educate each other, and we need to like offer an extension of friendship and bridge the gap. And some of the things I think that we're all looking at is we're seeing the truth get lost in the form. The form was created to teach people who had no knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so it's very, very basic. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The idea is you teach the form and then it becomes theirs, and then you make it come alive. But nobody ever gets to that point. They just memorize this form, and then they move on to the next form and the next form. So they have a bunch of forms and a bunch of recipes, but they never actually made a nice cake or, you know, a nice batch of cookies or whatever it was, because they're so focused and hyper focused. And that's part of the system. It's part of being a human. It's part of what happens with bureaucracy and religion. And it's like, we have an amazing experience. Somebody does, and we want to replicate it. So we tell, and we try to remember exactly how we got there, and we write it down, and we try to teach people. But 98% of the people that you taught that to will probably never experience what you experienced. And they're just going to have your words and your description of it. And they're going to try to imitate it. And they're going to, if you ever told somebody, raise your hand if you know, they all know it. They don't actually know. In their mind, they know, you know what I mean? So I find that now, like even teaching Taekwondo forms, you know, everybody's in a hurry to get to their next belt and to show that they know the form. It's like, once you know the form, you got to make it yours, put your flavor on it. Like, the block isn't meant to just be a robotic 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. It's telling a whole story with your body. And the most important part of the story is your spirit inside that makes it come alive. And like, at least just acknowledging that, recognizing that takes the burden off of me. Because it's like, I don't need to convince you that my stuff is great. You know, like, I'm just going to show up and teach and share, and people who get it will get it, and people who don't, and everybody will get it at the level they're supposed to get it. And some people are happy with just doing that, and they're learning, you know what I mean? Because the person who's not doing that at all is way back there on another level. So the higher you get and the more this comes alive. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
And there's nothing wrong with, you know, doing the movement and having it just be the movement, you know,
100%.
But it just opens you've opened a door for them to have that as an option, to be able to sort of make it their own. You know, I always thought of forms as like a book. This is a book about what this style is about. And then you go through the book and you read it and you perform it, and then you take a piece out of it and you play with it and you work with that. That's always been my take on martial arts, is that the form is a compendium. It's an encyclopedia. And then the block, right, is is the thing that you kind of fill in with yourself. Tai Chi was never originally taught as a 20-minute long form. Originally, it was taught as individual motions, and the forms that came out of primary, even as far as I know, like I wasn't there obviously, but as far as I know from my study of history, that had a lot to do with the way that martial artists made a living in Asia in that time period, as performers, as people who were part of opera troupes, and people who were trying to bring people into their school. This was like how you said, this is what my school looks like, this is what my movement looks like, right? But for real purposes, you just drilled the same, you did the same thing over and over and over until it became yours, like you're saying, until it became inside your body, part of you.
So on that note, do you find yourself in practice? Obviously, like I have a 108 move form, Korean form called Bakpaigi.
Mm-hmm.
And 108 moves, man, that's long. You know what I mean? And then to do it with the recipe perfect, right? The stance has got to be perfect. The hand position's got to be perfect. The movement, the tempo, the fluidity, not even counting putting my flavor on it. Yeah. Just the form as it exists. That's like a high level. That's the pinnacle of, like a certain trajectory of training. At some point, am I able to just disregard all of the walls that make that form, that specific form, and just go and do? And what's the value of that, if that makes sense? Like almost like improvising or going free flow and let your body do. Do you do that type of training? Do you do like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, 10 minutes of open, free, random, what would look like random Tai Chi moves or Qigong moves, because they're not part of a specific form, but it's actually you expressing your movement in a way that is natural? Do you do that? Or
absolutely. I'm also a visual artist. Like this, I'm a painter. So I consider that my paint box, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's I in addition to forms and drilling and specified movement, I definitely I tend to not go out of the range, as we were talking about with martial Qigong versus sort of medicinal or sort of general Qigong. I try and keep it practical, right? I don't just sort of make up stuff, but I'll try stringing things together in ways that are novel and different. That's after a certain point in my mind and in my practice, you have to do that. The energy moves you in certain ways. If you don't practice that, you're missing a lot of it, because the form moves you in certain ways. When you figure that out and you are like, oh, the energy, I'm letting the energy move me in the way that the form goes. It's an important step. It's an important piece of it. Once you are like, okay, now I have the energy and I have the movements, I'm going to just put them together however they want to be, however I want them to be, however they want to sort of manifest in me today. So yeah, absolutely. But I think that it's important to take steps to that. I think that you have to be really crisp in your early steps to that. I think that I've known people who are like, oh, I went to, I spent a year doing this martial arts training, and now I just kind of make it up for myself. And that's really hard to do. It's especially hard to do in the internal martial arts, because it takes so much. There's so much different about it than your regular, than natural, than everyday movement. You're trying to manifest energy without using muscular force, which is something that takes a really long time to try and get into your body. But I think that at a certain stage, every martial artist should just start doing that. That's what bag work is really too, right? So if you're hitting the bag, you're doing what comes next. If you're sparring, you're doing what comes next. It's the same thing with solo training. You just are doing, you're just following your heart, really.
Right. I got this big semi here making a lot of noise right now.
Oh, sorry. I can't hear it.
Yeah, let me let this guy just pass for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's high level. You got to be high level. Otherwise, you're like a step away from delusion, right? Just running around swinging your body around, which is better than nothing. But, yeah, training is training. Compared with the guy who doesn't train or the girl who doesn't train, their training's always going to be better. Where are you at right now with your training, and what is your main focus?
Right now I'm training both Bagua Zhang and Tai Chi Chuan regularly in a class setting with my internal martial arts teacher. So I go to him and I train daily on those pieces that I'm working on. I go to him, and he's a great person. He's a really interesting individual. I don't tend to throw his name around because he's a very private person, and I his lineage, the lineage that he represents, is very solid, very very real. It's straight back to the Chen Jiagao, the Chen village. It's straight back to Dong Chuan, the creator of Bagua. It's a very solid lineage, but he doesn't put his name out there, so I don't put his name out there. You know what
Gotcha.
I mean? Yeah. As opposed to my karate teacher, he's a very public guy. Joko Ninomiya, he's a Kancho, he's a public figure. So I don't mind talking about him. But my teacher is the sort of person who he's a very classical Chinese teacher, in that you never did it right, and you never are going to, probably, and you just keep on working on it. So he never lets your ego get too big. He never lets you feel like you're done. And I've been going to him for that 35 years. He's been my internal martial art teacher for 35 years. Off and on. I left. I lived in California for a little while, lived in Oregon for a little while. When I would come back, I'd train with him. But yeah, he keeps me working. I think that's an important piece of martial arts. Whether you're the one showing or whether you're the one being shown, the coming together, working in community. I've done a lot of my work solo. I've done a lot of my work on my own, but there's a lot to be said for the kun, the dojo, the dojang, the community.
It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Where you and your fellow, individuals are struggling through some of these difficult, things, trying to figure it out, trying to, pass information back and forth, and trying to get it right.
I was trying to look through my notes when I did Qigong in Florida with Hanshi Shalamon with the Zenbei Butoku Kai. I went to 2 Florida camps at probably 2015 and 2012, I think. Melbourne, Florida, and we did a lot of things. We did weapons and a bunch of other stuff, but we did Qigong,
Mm-hmm.
and that was my first experience with Qigong. Before that, I had done Tai Chi under the same organization, but my instructor, who was under that's the Hanshi of the, to this day, he's the Hanshi of the style, Zenbei Butoku Kai International. My Tai Chi instructor was my karate instructor, Dan Wakefield, out of Campbell, California. But we did I don't even know the name of that Tai Chi form, but it's it might be the 108 moves. It's kind of long. I think swallow's tail. Do you know?
Was it Yang style or Chen style?
I think it was Yang style. I think, yeah.
Yang.
You get the ball of energy in front of you, and then you slowly bring it from one side, and I think your hands are like that or something, and then you bring it to the other side, and then I think you lift and you step out, and then I think you do the same thing on the other side. Is that ringing a bell at all?
That's the Yang form.
Okay. Do you know that one?
I don't. Well, I've that's one of the things that I've messed with. But I'm a Chen stylist. So Tai Chi started in Chen Village with Chen-style Tai Chi, and then Yang Luchan was. I mean, there's a lot of myth around how he acquired his skills, but he took that Tai Chi and he went to Beijing with it and became a very famous martial artist.
Oh, the young guy did. So he kind of made it after it was already done in Chen Village.
Well, he took it and modified it to his. It's stylistically similar, and there's a lot of overlap. They're both definitely from the same source, from the same root. It's just Chen was the root.
Okay.
And although there's a lot of people who say, so then in Beijing, when he was becoming a big teacher, Chen Fake came there and was like, okay, well, you kind of took this from us, so I'm going to come up here and show our family form. I don't think it was probably, there was some contention, but I don't think it was a big like blowout. But that's where the two main branches of Tai Chi come from: Yang style and Chen style. So the difference is really Yang has the like press, roll back, push, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Whereas Chen has this kind of like spiral energy. Whoa. That so Yang tends to be like, rolling and wave motions, right? Mm-hmm. Chen tends to be like, this kind of like, the rolling happens, but it's expressed through the limbs in this circular fashion.
I think Spiral was dead on. That looks like freaking joint locks and Hapkido techniques and Daito Ru compared to like full, like almost Kung Fu type style body movements.
Yeah.
Just from what I can see. But
and Yang Luchan was a powerful fighter, right? He didn't go to Beijing and become a famous martial artist if you couldn't back it up. But I think
what year was all this taking place?
I think this is maybe turn of the century or a little bit before.
Okay.
That this was starting to happen. But the Chen Village had been doing a style. Now, see, this is where a lot of the sort of muddy waters come in, is that some people say, well, what Yang Luchan was doing was he called Tai Chi Chuan. Chen Village, it was just Chen family style, right? It wasn't really Tai Chi Chuan. Tai Chi Chuan was created by Yang Luchan, and then they were like, well, that's ours, so we do Tai Chi Chuan. It's a really convoluted history, as so much of like Chinese, especially martial arts history. It's like really interesting, but it's hard to figure out what the actual thing is.
I go down those rabbit holes looking for linear.
Chen style is old. Probably 1600s.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Not old, like, yeah, it's not old, but Xingyi is old, like, back in the dynasties, right? So internal martial arts in China is represented right now by 3 or 4 major styles. There's Tai Chi, there's Bagua Zhang, there's Xingyi, there's Liuhe Bafa, right? There's like a couple ones, but they are all syntheses of other old martial arts. Internal martial arts in China is old.
Did Bagua go to the Philippines and influence their Kali with their footwork?
I don't know. It might have. It certainly traveled. I know it went to Korea, and there's a Bagua lineage tradition in Korea of.
Oh wow.
Park Bak Nam is one of the sort of known leaders of that, or known practitioners of that art in Korea. It traveled, and it also had overtones in the Muslim community in China, right? So Uyghurs and people in Muslim people in the Silk Road. In fact, some people claim that there's some overlap between Sufi, whirling
Ah,
dervishes and their footwork and the Bagua footwork.
I didn't know footwork was in Sufism. I had no idea.
Well, the whirling dervish,
Oh, okay. Yep.
you have to step correctly for you to be able to do that spin that they're doing, which is
Whoa,
amazing.
dude, that is wild.
It's
That's what
I mean, that's all hearsay. I'm not
it
I'm
doesn't
not
matter.
gonna.
It's cool. I love it.
It is cool. It's a cool idea.
To the core. So tell me the difference between Bagua, Tai Chi, and Qigong.
Okay, well, as I was saying before, Qigong, in my opinion, is Qi
The
work.
root, right?
Qi, it means you're working with energy. You're doing energy work. Internal, very internal energy is called Nigong. That's just standing there. You're not moving. Qigong is when you're using motion of some sort to work with energy internally.
And the other one was a Nigong.
Nigong, right?
Nigong.
So
That's like the
that's
tree, standing tree.
yep, that's just standing post.
Okay.
And you're circulating, you're doing microcosmic orbit, but you're not really doing motion to change it. Qigong, that's a sort of a distinction that may not hold up in some people's minds, but that's how I think of it. And then Tai Chi and Bagua are two of the main internal martial arts that use Qigong, use Qi, internal work to manifest power, right? Tai Chi tends to have a feeling that power comes in, it's redirected, and it's redistributed back to the person. You hear a lot about how you steal power from somebody with Tai Chi. Incoming force is redirected, and then they are struck back with their own whatever they were putting out on.
Same like Aikido, basically.
Yeah, and it's just, but Aikido has a little bit more of a Bagua flair, because Bagua is much more. Tai Chi tends to be kind of like you get in your bunker, right? It comes in and you move it back out to the side around you, and then strike it back. Bagua is performed in a circle, for one thing. If you look at the symbol of a yin yang that has the straight and broken lines around it, those straight and broken lines are called Bagua. It means 8 trigrams. So there's 8.
Oh yeah, on the Korean flag,
8.
yeah, earth, wind, fire, water.
Yeah. So there's 8 of them. So there's yin yang is straight and broken, and then the 3 of them together create all of the 8 trigrams. And then those 8 trigrams are doubled to create 64 hexagrams. That's the I Ching. I'm sorry, not the I Ching. The I Ching, the casting coins, the divination, that sort of thing comes from that symbol, which basically it's a very, very profound.
Dude, I got to dive deep into this, so you got to send me something offline or something.
Oh, it's very, very. In fact, it prefigures, the idea of binary code by thousands of years.
Wow.
Because it's the same set. So 1, 0, and becomes 2, 0 and 1, which is straight and broken. And then that transforms into 64. It's the same as in computer code as 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64. It's the same binary code. And in fact, there's a really interesting numerology that goes around with it, all of that.
Yeah, so there's like ancient esoteric numerology, basically, right?
And absolutely. And but not just numerology, but a numerical system that is still, that would be the same, that's essentially the same as binary code. So in fact, I think Leibniz saw the I Ching and was like, oh, that's basically what I was talking about.
Quick question, Terrence Howard?
Yeah.
Have you heard his thing of 0 shouldn't exist and that we should rearrange all mathematics?
I think, I mean, I think that what he was reading, I'm more interested in what he was reading. I think he's an interesting person. I don't know that I'm not sure how much I agree with what he's saying, but he was looking at Walter Russell. So if you read Walter Russell, which is where he got the idea of like octaves instead of the sort of the chart of the elements, the periodic table. He's like, that's all wrong. It should be more like this. That idea comes from Walter Russell, and he's a really interesting.
So there's something with Walter Russell. He's onto something. Walter Russell.
Walter Russell's is 30s, you know,
okay,
30s or 40s.
But Walter Russell was onto something, is what.
I think he's an well. It's really just a way of thinking about stuff. Maybe it's just another way of thinking about things. That's not the same as sort of, you know, mainstream thought, but it holds up.
Wow, okay.
It's definitely worth looking at, I think.
Like a new theory of relativity or something, right?
It's a new theory of the way matter organizes itself and why, and how resonance and harmony and you know, basically vibration in different levels causes different things to exist, right?
Well said.
Which is true, which is right. I mean, it's clear all the way back down to the, you know, what we were talking about before, the atom,
energy, vibration, right? All those things.
Yeah, all that. So Bagua is named after that symbol, the straight and broken lines. And it has to do with the changes that happen inside of that. I'm trying to do it without getting too like scattered.
It sounds like it's esoteric, right? It
is, but it also is. Bagua was developed as a bodyguard's art. So that's one of the reasons that it's performed in a circle. You are circling around something that cannot be given up.
The president or whatever, right? Yeah.
Or treasure, or, you know, whatever your family, whatever it is that you're guarding. Bagua is about creating this space that is around that treasure, you know.
Dude, I love that.
So it has a lot of overtones. It has a lot of similarities to Tai Chi, but the way that you actually manifest that movement doesn't have that same kind of like wave quality back and forth. It's more like a tornado that's spinning around. So when energy comes in, you go around it.
And that's kind of Aikiish as well, right?
That's why Aikido makes more. In fact, like I was saying, when I left the school to go back to karate for a while, and that karate school is closely aligned with an Aikido school. Kancho is a good friend of Gakuhoma Sensei, who's also in town here. Who was a student of Yeshiva.
No way.
He was, and they were, you know, Kancho and Homa Sensei were good friends, and they would, you know, give things back and forth, and it made perfect sense to me what Kancho was doing, because it felt so similar to the Bagua that I had been doing prior, and brought back in.
Like Erime Nage. You know that one?
No, tell me.
Like if they come in with a lunging or, you know, a ski or a punch, their energy's coming in, and so you guide that punch with here, and they come in, and then you pivot and basically do a clothesline, but it feels like they're going this way and that way. And you know, it's all based on the two-step turn, right? And your footwork, which is hidden by the hakama because it was sacred footwork, right?
Yeah.
Which probably comes through the Bagua, but it's creating that centrifugal force, which is always off balancing your opponent, and it's built off of their energy, what they're giving you. And if they're giving you nothing, you don't have anything. They get two-handed push, we guide it, blend it, neutralize it. Dude.
Yeah. Like we were saying, you know, stick, adhere. So it comes in, you're part of it, you adhere to it, you join with it, you follow it, and then you're leading it back. So it's the same. It's the same, principle. I think Aikido doesn't get enough credit because people are like, they
They
see
don't
the
give you any
affinity,
US
and they're like, oh, well, they're obviously just falling. It's like, well, if they didn't fall like that, they'd also rip their arm out of their socket, but also they're learning something. And furthermore, the reason that they're doing this is because it was an art that came from battlefield art where somebody's attacking with a sword. All of the attacks that Aikido looks like is somebody with a weapon and you're empty-handed. That's when it works the best.
Taijutsu.
Yeah. So
Or Bujinkan.
Yeah. So
using the ideas and principles of weapon combat with empty hands.
Yeah.
Same thing I teach when you get somebody, they come in, whatever, cut like a sword. It's their arm in your hand, you know what I mean? And their whole body goes flying, but you're dropping and doing a sword cut.
Yeah. That's one of the in Bagua, they use really big, heavy weapons. In order to do that sort of thing, it's about creating, strength in your wrist. It's about understanding grabbing somebody and moving, like my Bagua sword.
Holy cow, dude. That's freaking awesome.
So that's about
start training a Bagua just to get one of those swords, man. It's freaking awesome.
That's about grabbing an arm and moving it, right? This is all, not all, but it is about that same sort of thing, like you're saying, using a sword, thinking like a sword.
Thomas, we're getting toward the end of our podcast. I would love for you to give us all the information on where to find you. I know you're on School, SKOOL, and like, what are you doing on there? And do you have an invitation? Do you want to tell what do you want people to know about you?
Yeah, I'm just getting started on School, but it's really where I'm putting my focus because I feel like it's a really good place to gather around topic-based ideas. That's where we connected, and your school is a great place. I feel like that's where I'm trying to put out some of these ideas that I've been sort of rattling around in my brain this whole time. So my spot is Qigong and internal martial arts as yoga. We didn't even get into that part, but but we'll
do another one. We'll do another podcast.
it just has to do with making yourself at maximizing your energy, becoming a stronger and more healthy and realized individual. So please, anybody who wants to come, I have a lot of free content in there. I'm going to start doing some more long form video, and I'd like to start doing some in-person stuff, some Zoom classes and things like that. So
what's your YouTube
channel? YouTube, I don't even know what I just use that as a feeder into my school right now. So I'm not even sure what I'll give it to you. We can post it up, but come to the school.
Okay. And your name on School, or how can they find you in School? Do you have keywords? Did you do the keyword thing yet?
I did. And so it should be Qigong. It should be, Bagua Zhang, Tai Chi Chuan, Chen Tai Chi, and my name, Thomas Seidl. And again, Qigong and internal martial arts as yoga,
Awesome. Thomas, I'm gonna give you this whole thing and have you're gonna have access to it so you can market as much as you want. I'll put it on all my platforms. All the information will be in print so they can easily click a link and find you. And I'm looking forward to having more podcasts with you because we barely even scratched the surface, man. You know what I mean? We barely even did anything. And I had such a blast.
Yeah, thank you so much, man. I love your energy, and I'm so happy that we got a chance to meet each other over this, these electrons that are streaming back and forth.
Totally. And who's another great person on there is Mr. Wynn. Dang, I totally forgot his first name, but he's on the School. He's just as active as you are on there.
Great.
one of my other buddies on there, and he's on the same vibe. He's a doctor, a foot doctor, podiatrist.
Oh,
So his schedule conflicts most of the time, so he's not able to be on here. But he's always watching and he's always participating, and he'd be another great contact. I know you guys would probably just vibe. But I'm gonna shoot you my cell later on, and that way you have my cell. And if you want to shoot messages back and forth, because I'll be willing to help you out on anything you need for your school and kind of give you some tips and tricks that I found that make my life easy and make it easy for me to put out content without a big effort on my part. Like
well,
I created a pretty good.
I appreciate your content. I've been really, I've said to you before, you know, I really enjoy it, and I look forward to seeing what you are doing in the future, in the near future.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. And you know what? Just showing up, man. Just showing up. You know,
That's right.
just
That's
showing
right.
up day after day. And I am so blessed by our friendship, man. Look forward to more. And I want to train. One of these days, I want to go to Colorado, and I would love to train with you and your people. I would love it.
Absolutely,
If
absolutely.
you ever want to come down here and spend some time in the sun on the Orange
I'd
County
love to.
beach,
I'd love
let's
to.
work it out, man. I'm not going
Right.
anywhere, and we got a long road ahead of us. I'm going to cut this down for now. I'll reach out offline, and we'll reconnect. And would you be willing to do another one?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. This is great.
Okay, Thomas, thank you so much, my brother. This was
All
awesome.
right.
And
All
I'll
right.
give you a full transcription in the video, and I'll reach out soon.
Sounds good.
Peace, brother. Thank you so much.
Be well.
Bye-bye.